Good evening, everybody, and thank you for being here on a Sunday. I'm quite sure, and I'm hoping that everybody's had a good Sunday dinner, and that you are able to participate through the questions element, but that we really are grateful for you taking this time on our precious Sunday when you're recuperating from the week to be with us today on this very policing consultation is part of the Mayor's action plan to deliver an overhaul of community engagement and scrutiny to ensure that London's diverse communities are better represented. And MOPAC's commitment to anti-racism, where they say that they stand against racism and that Black Lives Matter, provide some of the context to this consultation that is really focused upon the Black African and Black Caribbean communities who are most disproportionately affected, detrimentally affected therein by the use of police powers. And so we're trying to elevate solutions from Black Londoners to support this transformation of police scrutiny and accountability and engage the ideas that emerge from our communities about how to improve police scrutiny and accountability. That said, we're also in the context of the Casey report. Many of you will be aware of that report on the Metropolitan Police, and no doubt are reliving the many decades of experience of racist policing that we've all experienced as Black African and Black Caribbean communities. And so it's within also that context that this consultation hopes to provide recommendations about how we transform the police scrutiny and accountability from our perspective. So I'm happy to welcome our two co-hosts today to help us with this endeavor. And I'm going to ask you to each to introduce yourselves and at the same time answer the question about how can we make sure community-led police accountability includes the right people and is representative of all Londoners, particularly from the perspective of concerned parents and who have a particular experience of the police. And so whoever wants to start first, you're welcome.
Ladies before gentlemen.
Greetings, everyone. So thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Dr. Jacqui. So my name is Charmaine Simpson. I am the co-founder, one of the co-founders of an organization called Black History Studies, where we teach Black history and Black studies in the community by any means necessary. We've been doing that for the past 16 years now, mainly based in London, but we teach and educate people globally. I also work with amazing people like Brother Andrew Mohammed, who everybody who knows me know I love Andrew Mohammed like fire planting. So just put it out there as well. So we work closely together, and it's all about working together in unison. And this is one of the reasons why when I was approached to come and contribute, and people who know me, I always love to talk, I love to share. I've been doing community work since the age of 5. So I've been in the community a long time, working along amazing people like Andrew Mohammed and organizations similar to Black Thrive to get our community to be heard. And it's interesting how we're having this this talk right now, and it kind of links to what we do at Black History Studies about being visible and letting people know that we exist, and we have been here since time started, and we're going to continue to exist. So this is one of the reasons why we teach Black history and Black studies, to show that we have contributed so much to world history, and we are contributing it to every day. So this is one of the reasons why I came on to this webinar today, because I'm actually a mother. I'm a mother of 3 beautiful daughters aged between 8 and 16. She's going to be 16 this year. So, and I've also been a youth worker for many years, working in London, in particular Brent. So I was a youth worker for many years, mentor, did a lot of work in the community. So from a parent's perspective, I want to be ensure that our parents can get involved in speaking out against what's going on. Now, as parents and as a busy mother of 3 myself, we need to be able to enable parents to feel that their voice is going to be heard. So it could be organizing events at different times. So making sure that if you can't be there physically, you can be there online. Also, you can make sure that if you do events at a physical venue, that parents feel empowered to bring their children along and involve their children as well, and get their children to speak out as well, and make sure that it's done in a way that they feel that they can speak without any retribution for speaking out against what's going on. Also, if you're going to involve parents as well, we need to be able to make sure that we're speaking to the right parents. These are the parents that are not community activists, the regular person that you'll meet in Aldi or Sainsbury's or Asda. Yeah, providing an opportunity for the regular parents to come and speak, and make them feel empowered to speak out against certain things. Also, and I mentioned this earlier in the next session that we did, was also when we do have parent groups, don't make it just be one area heavy. So for example, we have like small group parental groups. So North London, South London, East London, West London, and we all come together. And you might have like representatives of those individual groups that come together, maybe on a monthly basis or 2 monthly basis, to feedback what's going on in the individual groups. And also those parents keep those leaders or those representatives accountable, and make sure that they're documenting and writing down what is being shown, what being said in a meeting, what's being documented in a meeting, and also have key people attend those meetings as well. It's not about speaking to somebody that don't have impact, that can't make any changes. Having key head people at these meetings, if not physically, then online as well. Because oftentimes they always send somebody else that can't make any decisions to come and pacify and just keep the peace. No, we want we want the information to go to the direct people, and we be able to communicate in our own unique style. So that's a summary of what I would say that I want to see as parents, being able to advocate and speak to parents as well. I'll let Brother Andrew come in as well, and then we can both bounce off ideas from what we come up, because I know Andrew's just amazing for what he does. So yeah, go on, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Sister Dr. Jacqui Dyer. Thank you so much for this platform, this opportunity. I want to say now, I'm holding on to the skirt of Charmaine Simpson. As long as I get some of that angel dust that comes from her, then I'm a happy man. But yes, thank you. And I'll say thank you so much for everyone who's tuned in tonight. My name is Andrew Mohammed. They call me the Investigator, or Guan Papa G. I'm the director of the West Side Young Leaders Academy and the Lewisham Young Leaders Academy, which is an academy that's been running for approximately 13 years now. We work extensively, without any apology, with children of African heritage and dual heritage. Our aim is to not create a school system. Our aim is to create a leadership academy whereby our young people can feel that they are valued. Our aim is to feed them their identity, their history, open opportunities for them, both in the business world and in the social world, to make them appreciate that they come from a high culture civilization, and what they see on TV today does not represent the totality of who they are. So that is the work that I do with the West Side and the Lewisham Young Leaders Academy. I also work with various other academies. I'm also the director of Real Talk, Real Action Limited, which is a company that deals with motivation for young people in schools, colleges, and universities. We also work with parents, and we also do teacher seminars on how to reach and how to get the best out of children who may be seen as being challenging, but we don't believe that they are challenging. They just need to unlock the genius that lies within them. And once we learn that technique, that we'll see that they're powerful, beautiful, and one of the best generations ever given birth to. So that's the work I do with Real Talk, Real Action. And the two last ones I'd like to touch on is that I'm also one of the founding directors of a relatively new organization, which I think will align to what we're talking about today, but that is the National Black Parents Association of the UK. It's been in operation for approximately 2 months now, approximately 8 weeks. We've done a soft launch on that, and we're approaching over 800 members already on that. And that is, again, an organization, it's an online organization, a resource center that aims of feeding and connecting parents of African origin to come together, to utilize what's available, to talk out against racism and anything that goes against our community. But it's not about just focusing on the negative, because sometimes I think we focus on the negative, and there's so much opportunities that our parents don't know nothing about. So this platform is not just dealing with the racism, but it's also about producing opportunities and giving support for parents to show that they're not alone. And my last hat is, again, the director of The Hidden Truth, which is another platform, again, another online platform that has weekly shows that deals with, again, issues that may realm within our community globally, from education to business, to spiritual, to historical events, and a whole range of things. Anything that affects us as a people, we try to touch on. Now, Sister Dr. Jacqui, if you could just remind me, what was the question though, after I introduced myself? I know you asked a very good question.
So how can we make sure that community-led police accountability includes the right people, so that it's properly representative of all Londoners?
Fantastic. And I'm going to say now, Dr. Jacqui, that I hope I'm not going to be a party pooper on tonight's show. Okay, and I'll explain that, and I'm going to answer your question at the same time. Because, I'm going to be very honest and very frank with you, sister, due to my respect for yourself and this platform, is that is there a willingness to find the right people in our community? Number one. Number two, and we're going to touch on this tonight, hopefully, how many reports have we had that said exactly the same thing? I can go back to the 1981 riots, so-called riots, with the Scarman report that said exactly the same thing that we're saying today. We can go into the Stephen Lawrence inquiry and the Macpherson report that said exactly the same things that we're going to be talking about today. They've got Baroness Casey's report, which is nothing new to our community at all. But what I love about yourself, Dr. Jacqui, and I hope that we're going to go into this more, is that we have to become more solution orientated, okay? So even though I may be coming as a party pooper, I don't lose hope that we can get the right solutions, okay?
That's right.
So in terms of how do we find the right people, sister, they're there. They've been there for 20, 30 years. We can, just myself alone, I can list a whole lot of people that have been legends and have done legendary works in our community. If the police, the government, or the mayor wanted to find the right people, it's no hard work at all. Sister Charmaine, you know, I'm not just going to sit and just praise her, but I'm just giving you the reality. She's not a hard person to find. Her and her husband has got a legendary status within the community. Okay, she's got an outreach of thousands and thousands of people, not just in the UK, but in America. She does courses, maybe. Okay, it's not too hard to find people like that. We can go to Robin Walker, who's done tons and tons of books. Okay, worldwide respected authority. He's not a hard man to find. We can go to Professor Gus. We can go to Peter Herbert, who was the chair of the Black Lawyers Association. These are people who've done legendary works. They're well respected in our community. And that's why I say, is there a real desire from those who really want to find and put these right people in the right positions? Okay, they're there. We've been doing the works for decades. And so sometimes I think, should we be waiting for them, or should we say to ourselves, let's do it ourselves? Because to me, Dr. Jacqui, power only respects power. And I'm hoping that we're going to touch on the Home Secretary as well, brother, because, you know, I'm trying to hold my tongue, Doctor. I've got so much respect for you, sister, because these people have got no desire. And they've shown it in their words and in their actions, okay? And I'm sometimes we come across as being people with a begging bowl, okay? And no matter what happens to us, they're not going to respect us until we become a power amongst ourselves. And it's people like yourself, Dr. Jacqui, that, you know, is leading the way. And we need to sometimes say, yeah, we tick the boxes, what's necessary. But at the end of the day, we've got to start planning behind the scenes and start becoming and start educating our community with a program that they understand their rights, and not just their rights, but what power they have within themselves. Because the greatest disservice we can do to ourselves is to underestimate the power of ourselves. And if we can start understanding how powerful we are individually and collectively, I guarantee you, Dr. Jacqui, they will soon find the right people to make sure they're accountable to how they police our community.
So I just feel so honored to have both of you present with me today, because this is Real Talk, a platform that we need to have. And this is such an important discussion. And I think that you've touched on the area where we want to lean into, which is around identifying the solutions that we want to take going forward. And in that sense, we are our own power, identifying what the solutions are that we want, and therefore what needs to be supported through allyship then from MOPAC in order to support us. And that's what being anti-racism as an institution is really about. So it's for us to identify what our solutions are about, how we want to hold the police accountable and scrutinize them, particularly at a local level. Yeah. So what does it mean for what does it mean in Brent? What does it mean in Wandsworth? What does it mean in Tower Hamlets? What does it mean in Tottenham? What does it mean in Lambeth? What does it mean in Lewisham? What are the locally led, community led police scrutiny and accountability mechanisms that must be put in place that we have more trust and confidence in than what has ever gone on before? Because clearly, as you've rightly outlined, Scarman, Macpherson, we got Casey. This is all the same description of what we've been dealing with for decades now. What we now need to say, whatever they've put into place to scrutinize and hold accountable is clearly not fit for purpose. So from our perspectives as Black Londoners, what do we see needs to happen? What do we think at that local level could happen to more effectively scrutinize and hold the police to account? Andrew.
Sister, thank you so much for that point. Sorry, Sister Charmaine, I'll let you in a second, okay? But Sister Charmaine, what you're saying is real talk, sister. And I'm going to give you just an example of what can be done on a local level.
Yes.
But first, I've got to state that not only is the police or the policing a problem within our community, but let's keep it real. We are sometimes the problem within our own community. And a part of the solution, believe it or not, sister, is that we have got to let go some of our selfish mannerisms and selfish behavior. And I'm going to qualify what I'm saying, sister. Doctor.
Yes. Yes.
And plus, I'm going to give you a practical example. You see, many of us, not all of us, sister, many of us, we've got into the mindset that it's all about me, myself, and I. Until we can change our mindset and understand the power, what we call Ubuntu and Kuji Chagalia, which is self-determination, until many of us can just come together on a local level, and I'm going to give us a practical example in a second. So what I'm saying is not just based on theory. Until we just a group, it doesn't need a whole lot of us, just a group of a few like-minded individuals that can give up their time without looking for money or pay or grandeur, and say, let's come together on the basis of our children, of our elders, and of our women, and of our community. Let's work together. Let's organize together. Let's attend policing meetings together. Let's attend council meetings together. Wherever they're talking and wherever they're referring to us in our community, can a group of us give up our time selflessly for the benefit of our people? Now, let me give a working example. That may just sound like theory.
No, it doesn't. It's clear.
Okay, thank you, my doctor. You see, because I'm going to mention a particular group. They're called the Lewisham Education Group, LEG. They are a phenomenal pressure group of young Black parents, individuals, whatever it may be. Okay, there's a number of them. They came together in Lewisham because they saw the lack of achievement, drastically lack of achievement of Black children and children of African heritage, and how they were leaving the education system in Lewisham. I believe, and don't quote me exactly, if I remember serves me correctly, at least 7 to 8 Black children leaving school in Lewisham was not even leaving with 5 GCSEs. Okay, 5 A to C GCSEs I'm talking about. What these people done selflessly, without no money, without no budgets, concerned Black individuals, they came together. They organized themselves together without any funding, without anything. They just had a common purpose, a common goal for the good of their community. They then attended every single council meeting. They attended the schools. They sat down with school governors, right, and they demanded a better education system for their children. Whilst I was working with my team in West London, Westside Young Leaders Academy, they came over to see what we were doing as a solution. They weren't just talking about the education system, letting our children down and leaving us that. They were looking for practical solutions. They connected with us in West London, saw the platform that we were working on, realized that this could be good for their children in Lewisham. They then petitioned Lewisham Council, and they demanded that Lewisham Council sat down with us in West London, listened and analysed our programme, fund the programme so that they can have that same programme in Lewisham. 2 years later, we are now flourishing in Lewisham. And that's the point I'm trying to say. This is not just theoretical talk we're talking about. If we want to do it on a practical local level that you're talking about, my sister, and you are so correct, it does take just a handful of us to come together, organize ourselves together, and then understand that we have that power of solutions together.
Charmaine. So Charmaine, I'm going to ask the question as we sharpen the saw here around getting to these identifiable solutions, of which Andrew's just given us a couple, actually. And if you had a blank page to design community-led police accountability in London, which powers or areas of police practice should communities be involved in scrutinizing? Now, you're here as concerned parents. So what do you think needs to happen in that from that dimension?
Yeah. So for example, for example, policing in school, the relationship of the police in schools, we can talk about child Q and why are the police being called before the parents being called? Because I remember when I found about child Q, and Andrew, you know me, when I heard this, I said, boy, that could have been that phone call phoning me for my child, because trust me, Queen Nzinga and Harriet Tubman would have been summoned that day, and people be vexed. I was upset. So I'm thinking to myself, why did that happen? Why did the parents know at the aftermath? So one, the schools need to be accountable. If you're calling police into the school, you better be calling the parents at the same time and know what you're doing. Because I know if my daughter's school called the police before us, let's just hope that I get there before Mark gets there. That's all I'm saying. Because I know it'll be a different conversation, like what is going on. And for me and my daughters, I'm very involved in the school. Yeah, I already told the school, any issue, 10 minutes, I'll be there. Whatever I'm wearing, I'll be at the school. And they know I don't need to wait until parents' evening for you to be talking about my child. Call me and we'll sort it out there and then. So the school system has to take account in terms of the relationship between the police and the school. Then on the local level, right? And I mentioned an example of when I was going to Wood Green and I happened to stumble on an incident in Wood Green shopping centre where there was must have been clearly 1,000, over hundreds of young people outside, and the two girls, I don't know what happened, but they were arresting the two girls, and literally all the North London schools are on this high road. And I was the only parent trying to de-escalate the situation, telling the young people to go home. So it's also about having the police, community-led relationships with the police. Now, when I used to be a youth worker in Brent, we actually used to organize sessions where the police would come in and the young people would grill and talk to the police in the youth club. And that was very powerful because the actual young people got to know the local police. Now, I've been living in Tottenham or Wood Green since 2014. I can't tell you what the police have been doing for our young people. I couldn't even tell you what the youth service has been doing because it's not visible. The only time I see the police is when they're actually apprehending young people. And I'm always one of them fast parents that get involved. Like, what is going on? What did he do? Could I call somebody for you? These are the things that we have to do as well. And on a practical level, I would say we need to be visible in these accountability, because I know police have their own internal scrutiny boards and people that scrutinize their day-to-day activities. But those people ain't rappers. They don't look like me or Andrew. And you can't have the police scrutinizing the police. It don't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So we have to have regular people that can come in there, and the police have to go accountable. How many stop and searches are you doing? What are you stopping searching people for? What is the criteria you're stopping that person on? What are the complaints that you receive? Because I guarantee those young people that get stopped constantly all the time for no reason, yeah, will get upset after a while. And also letting the young people know their rights when it comes to police. I did a session with Stopwatch a few years ago where they came in and talked about children's rights regarding stop and search. All of that. What is the statistics regarding local stop and search in the area? What type of crimes are young people being involved in? What interventions can we do to prevent those crimes? Are they going into the schools and speaking to the young people in the schools? Yeah, those are the things. And then also involving the parents and having them feel empowered to speak in these forums as well. Because sometimes it's good to have governors and parent governors and things like that. But half the times, like for example, they had a governor situation for my child's school. I never heard about it. I just saw that the piece of paper saying, "Oh, vote for the governors." I'm like, but nobody told me about the governors. And when you always go to these schools, the governors all look the same. All look the same. Why is that the case? No matter what school you go to, the governors are always the same type of people. So it's all about empowering people, empowering parents to be able to go up and speak to the police, speak in these meetings, go to government, go to Whitehall, yeah, and go and involve those people in there. Like what Brother Andrew said, we have amazing people in our community that can go in there. We don't need to reinvent the wheel because these people are there. But then we also have we have to reach out to our media. Who is the people that are publicizing what we're doing? How can we reach out to other parents and have the resources to reach out to them? So we need that media wing, that marketing wing, to let other Black parents know that, oh, we exist, this is what we're doing, and these are some of the achievements, and then have that as an active marketing campaign so they can get involved in it. And then don't just make it London focused as well. Because when I advertise these events, also the people from Birmingham, like, we got the same problem. Why? When are you coming to Birmingham? And all the different areas as well. So we're not just all in London. We're all over the UK. We need to be thinking about how do we reach out to the regions? So we may have like one person from North London, East London, West London, and then they link up with the people from the regions, and we have a regional meeting or a national meeting. And it's very important that we do this on a regular basis as well, and have it being accountable. Yeah. And even like me and Andrew, we could organize an event, like a whole public event, a community question, like Nation does, community question time. I guarantee we probably get about 250 minimum in a room. Minimum in a room. Like O2 we can pack out easy to be talking about these things, because I know that 52 people on this webinar today is minor. Yeah. I know we can get that easily. So when I do my financial education events, we get like 150, 200 people minimum. So it's all about reaching out to people so that they can actually contribute as well. So maybe we organize some more of these events, yeah, so that we continue the conversation as well. Because I know that there might be people listening on here that have got plenty to say, but this might not be the right time to say it, because they may not understand what the Mayor of London is trying to do. And also the mayor of London need to speak to the Black community as well. Before any issues covered, it doesn't have to be something reacting to somebody or death in police custody. Why can't we have the mayor reaching out to the Black community on a positive aspect? So I want to see the mayor of London going to support the work that Westside Young Leaders Academy come down. Bring the whole TV crew and everybody to come and show the amazing work that organizations like Robert Andrew is doing, work that we're doing as well in the community, and many others that are doing it. Why is it? Well, let's not wait until an incident happens, then you have to come out and show your face. Yeah, we want you to be proactive rather than reactive. Because yeah, go on, Andrew. Go.
No, because you're touching my soul. Sorry, sister.
Yes.
Dr. Jacqui, you understand? I'm trying to hold it down. I'm trying to
No, hold it down. Reach the fire.
No. This is not an opportunity to hold it down, but it is an opportunity for us to be really clear about what our asks are in relation to this particular agenda. So we are talking about how to improve. We've got an epidemic of rampant and relentless systemic racism that's been allowed to flourish for generations in this country, with the police operating with impunity upon our Black communities in terms of surveillance, heavy-handed policing, sometimes leading to death. Our children, our adults are traumatized by successive years of the way that police conduct their stop and search without dignity and without respect, and humiliating and creating actually a massive level of emotional distress and trauma, racialized trauma in our communities. Now, for us to, at this juncture, and we are focused here around this epidemic, how do we attend to holding them to account and scrutinize them at that very local level is the kind of ask that I'm dealing with here, right? And so it's a matter of getting really focused about what is it that, and I love how you're both talking about what it is that we can do as a community, because some of it is about us. Some of it is not about what we want from the and what we want from the OPAC. I love the idea of Ubuntu, because actually that really is it. We've got to, as a Black community, actually start working together at every level. Right. And on every issue, but this one in particular is one that we've gone into, me, myself, and I, sort of modus operandi, which is very much the sort of culture that is not of our culture, which is a very Western way of operating. We are not of that ilk, and we need to get back to ourselves, which is what the Ubuntu philosophy is about. So that means that every brother, every sister is our brother and our sister. And how do we take care of them in the same way as we want to be taken care of and take care of ourselves? It's not about just my child and my child only. Your child lives in a community. If another child is not good, or having good outcomes, or having a terrible experience, that's supposed to burn your soul in the same way as it does for your own child, because it's that kind of solution focused ideology that we're bringing here with practical solutions. So that's the kind of, but what you're talking to is exactly the way that we need to communicate and ask for people to join together to help us on this agenda, because we can't all keep going solo on this. It's nonsense. It's not, it is not who we are. So we need to be working on cultivating, getting back to self, right? So this is the work that yous are doing, and we're just saying, how does that now manifest itself, very particularly on this police scrutiny and accountability at the local level? So you've given, and even some ideas about how some of these groups can work together across the different boroughs. You've spoken to that. And we're sort of saying, what kind of support do you think that MOPAC could provide to these groups in terms of resources, funding and training, if appropriate? What do you think that might be?
I don't know. I would say, so for example, if me and Andrew said, right, we're gonna create a community question time where we're gonna have a big event. Well, we need to be able to have a space where we can have a conversation. And if the conversation go over, nobody ain't outside the door flicking lights and telling us to come out, because that always happens. Two, we also need to be able to stream that. Yeah, so that if we do it in London or we do it in Birmingham, people who are outside of London can also contribute, and we have like a team of people that can be on around the back saying, Andrew, online, Carol from Birmingham said this, ask this question, so that we can answer the question. They can feel inputted as well. Somebody writing questions, somebody to make sure that we're documenting and creating a database of all the people that came, so that we can then do follow-ups afterwards as well. So these are some of the practical things that we can do. So that also costs money. And it also takes time to organize as well. It's all about the resources as well. Then also having the time to promote it. So it can't be something that's very short notice. It has to be able to give a long lead-in time so we can gather the momentum and gather the reports. Somebody said in one of the Q&A to break down some of these reports. And then we can talk about how these reports are similar. Okay, Brother Andrew mentioned the McPherson report. There's a lot of people that don't even know that existed. Or what have other people done to get change? Because we have Mavis Best and the SUS, we have the Black Parents Movement of Haringey. There's many people that have done some amazing work. You mentioned Professor Gus John. I don't even need to say more, because his rap sheet goes on for longer than my looks. Trust me, he's been doing this longer time than me. And he came and spoke at one of my master's class, and I was just like this in front of him, like, he's just amazing. We need to take all of that information in his head and that wisdom and that knowledge, and impart that to the community, because unfortunately we know we want him to live forever. We know that he won't be able to live forever, but we don't want him to go past to the ancestors with that knowledge in his head and not being passed on to other people. There's people like Paula Bina, there's Prof. Twilight Bay, there's some of Professor Les Henry, all of those amazing people that have all these amazing knowledge that we want to share, but we have to do it in a way so it's not just a talking shop. Because a lot of us in the community are fed up with just talking. It's about action.
Right.
So when you think about, sorry, Andrew, so just to ground the sort of discussion around specific actions at a local level that need to be sort of like resourced, or what do you think that those might be? You've mentioned community question time. What sort of data, for example, would be appropriate, would be necessary for you to have from the police in order to be able to hold the police accountable and scrutinize them at that very local level? What would would be the information, the data that you would need to see?
Yeah, so statistics on their interactions with young people. So maybe whether it's stop and search, whether it's responses to, for example, and we mentioned this earlier about domestic violence. Yeah, how do they prioritize domestic violence? How effective are that a Black woman can go to the police and report a domestic violence and they get the right support? Also, for example, complaints, local complaints, have they been answered, or do they just get ignored and shelved? Okay. Also, management of, like, for example, management. What is the actual local, for example, for me, I'm in Tottenham, what is Tottenham's local police agenda or police program, or what are their localized agenda when it comes to policing of our community? Because no one, I guarantee if I went around, walked up Wooding Howard and asked most people, they wouldn't have a clue. Yeah. And these are the things that we need to ask the questions as well. And they need to be open with the statistics. And we have the opportunity and the time to analyze what these statistics show, and maybe compare it to other regions, other parts of London, or have somebody that is that statistically in mind to break down and analyze this from our perspective in our community. So that might mean paying a researcher to actually go through and analyze it and talk about policing from the Black community perspective, and have people from the Black community, not somebody from America coming in, which is oftentimes when they do like a American guru to come over and talk about policing in their context. No, what about what we do over here? Because it's localized issues. Yes. As well. And what is informing their decisions when they're making these decisions as well? Because a lot of times we don't know. And then also bringing in the local council as well. Because what is the link to the policing? Because I remember some of the words that David Lammy said kind of inflated a lot of things in our community when the riots were happening. Yeah. So also being aware, being a link to the council and the police, and they can come and sit down with us on a localized basis and be there for the whole time to actually have a conversation, because they always like to, oh, we can't stay for too long. And then when it gets a bit too hot and spicy, now, oh, we got to go now. And they get rushed out of the room. No, you need to sit there and speak to the parents. And it's not just Black parents, it's all the parents of that local area coming together and having those conversations, because we all make up the community as well. And we have to find a way to do that as well. And that's resourced. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's resourced. Absolutely. And Andrew, excellent. Andrew, do you have anything that you want to add to what Sister Charmaine? Sister, I feel like it's Sunday and I'm at church. I'm going, yes. Sister Charmaine and Sister Andrew. I did grow up in the church, you know, so it's like that. Yeah. Andrew, Brother Andrew.
Yes, it's just going back on one or two very quick points. I won't label them. In terms of like child Q, when that took place, Sister Charmaine touched on that. Yeah. It was an outrage for every single one of us. And I saw the reaction, but I didn't see the response. We are masters of reacting, and that's natural. I'm not putting any of us down. That is a natural thing to react, but where does the response come in? And that's why the National Black Parents Association literally came out of what Sister Charmaine just stated. It happened based on child Q. So it took us a year to organize it. That's what I see as a response as opposed to a reaction. Okay. Yeah. And I see this, what we're talking about tonight is more of now a response as opposed to a reaction to every single thing that has to happen when we react to it. So in terms of what we could be doing more on a local level, I think that we need to, one, remind ourselves that the Casey report didn't come into being because of what happened to a person in the Black community. It happened because a woman was abducted by a policeman, raped and murdered. And then out of that report came what we find today. So I think we must always remind ourselves the Casey report, because we've been complaining for 50, 60, 70 years. And so the Casey report didn't come because of our complaining. It came because the white community became outraged on how the police were treating women. And we became a byproduct out of that. You know what I'm saying? So that's number one. So therefore, we must organize our so-called voice better locally. And funding is needed to do that. Number two is that I think that we need out of this, so we need to demand from the police on a local level as well, that there is a brand new independent organization that deals with what happens within the Black community and the policing. Because right now, the police are policing themselves when it comes to this. And they're not going to admit what's happening within the Black community and how they've let the Black community down and the over-policing of the Black community. We need to demand that there's an organization, and not just any organization, an organization with teeth, an organization with powers, an organization that has responsibility directly to the Black community, that represents the Black community, that the police are held accountable. It can't be the police doing it amongst themselves. I think, as Sister Charmaine just said again on a local level, is that we, amongst ourselves in the community, we can organize our own community information program. And it needs to be funded, whereby we are sending, we're not looking for the police officers to go into schools, we go into schools. It's funded. We could put together a phenomenal program that's aimed at the young people in schools, okay? But we go into schools all over London, and we could take it out of London as well, but the 33 boroughs in London, whereby we got qualified, experienced activists and community leaders that are literally going into these schools and explain and listening to the children. It's not about just telling them about their rights and telling them what to do. It's about they've got a voice back to us again. And that will allow us to create local policies that deals with the policing for that particular area. They feel that they're included in that. We must start listening to the young people even more so. We try to do our best, and I'm including myself in this too. But I think if we can create that organization locally, whereby the children are on that on that committee, and they've got a voice too. And we're going into schools.
Yeah.
We also have a church program, because that's where the foundation of our community is. If we can activate the churches and they see that they are part of the solution, we need a church program as well that are designed to go and represent our people in terms of what's happening on the local level of the policing. And my last point is this, is that we need unapologetic community leaders on a local and national level. We sit down, people like myself, Sister Charmaine, Dr. Les, Professor Gus, we sit down behind Dr. Jacqui, yourself, we sit down close doors and we organize and develop our own training program for policing in our community.
Yes.
Which we go into the various police authorities, and we uncompromisedly are held accountable to the community that we say we're going to be representing.
Yeah.
But we've got the right people who can design that program, because a lot of times, and I know there are programs already that designed to train police, it's done by people who are not on the grassroots level. It's done by people who are sitting down probably in Whitehall or sitting down with the mayor in the office. I'm not putting the mayor down, even though I've got my own person on that, okay? But people who have got a track record within our community on grassroots level that includes you know, the people that's been doing. Sister Sharma's been saying we can organize a meeting and we can have 1,000 people in there within a week. People know us.
So one of the honestly, time is running away with us, and I've got so much more that I want to ask you, but I want to actually leave an opportunity for questions from the floor that will also benefit from your excellent considerations here on this agenda. And I just want to make sure that you know that we want to invite you as co-host to help us as we develop in these recommendations for this consultation, that we'll want to continue to work with you on this. This is not a final point. This is like an ongoing journey going forward. And I think that the key principle here, what I would really like to surface and amplify, is the whole principle around Ubuntu. So thank you very much for this, because I think that it's absolutely correct. So Georgie, I wonder if we could take a few questions. We haven't got much time, but if there are any questions, I'll leave the questions that I haven't asked, the questions from the floor, from the audience.
Yeah, so I've been making a list of the questions that have come in. So the first one to ask, so someone did ask, hold on, I'm just trying to see if we can go. Okay.
You're coming, Georgie, your reception is coming in and out. So I'm wondering whether or not you could.
I'll try and move to a different spot. Okay, hopefully everyone can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
good.
we can hear you.
So someone asked, so someone said that the police should have frequent presence in schools, teaching young people about their rights and building relationships with their young people, so that their young people aren't afraid of them when approached in the streets. So that was a suggestion from someone who's joined. But then, Brother Andrew, you said that actually the community should be resourced to go into the schools and not the police. So I just wonder if maybe, Charmaine, if you could share your thoughts on that, and then back to Brother Andrew.
It has to work. It can have, my problem is, unfortunately, a lot of young black children, unfortunately, are traumatized by the police. We are, even if they don't have a direct links with the police, they have some form of trauma. Like when I mentioned that incident with the young girl in Wood Green, the girls were upset because her friend was being arrested. And what she turned around and said to me, which hurt my soul, she said, I don't know if I will see my friend again, because she might die in the police cell. That's what she said to me. And I was like, wow. And even when I say it now, I've got chills running down my spine, because I was like, absolutely, Charmaine, you got to go back to youth work. And what Andrew said as well, sitting down with young people. And I actually miss sitting with people and listening to them. That's why when Brother Andrew asked me to come and do some work in the school, I come because I absolutely love sitting down with young people. As parents, we go through on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes you just need to be that person, that listening ear, to speak to young people from their eyes without judgment. What is their day-to-day experience of living in London, interaction with the police? They might have a positive interaction with the police. Or if you have been stopped by the police on a many times, and they might not be able to vocalize how they've been stopped by the police all the time. Why do I feel victimized? Why? And ask those questions and have those discussions as well. And I don't think we actually take time, because the youth service doesn't exist no more. There's no detached youth workers reaching out to young people. Yeah, and this is one of the things that upsets me to my soul, is that I benefited from the youth service. I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for Junior Collins, Molly Barnaby, yeah, and many others from Brent Youth Service, and Jason Dell from Brent Youth Service, giving me the opportunity to be a youth worker from a very young age, and giving me the guidance when I didn't feel I could go to my parents, but they were there to have a conversation with. We need to bring that, and maybe we have to have our own youth community workers that are trained, like Brother Andrew says, to go into the community, to be that liaison, and actually go and speak to the police. So when something kicks up and there's incident with the police, they're calling us, yeah, to say, this is what's happened. What is the response? Because I don't want to be, I'm fed up of marching, because I refuse to go to the march, to Child Q march, to snap on those chairs and be shouting. No, because I'm a person that will create solutions. So as me, I know my time is limited. So my time is basically working with the mindset of people to change. So showing that you are powerful, because we are powerful people. Nobody can't tell me that the Black community ain't powerful, but we just haven't been taught to stand into our greatness. And once we know knowledge of self, we can do anything. Now I'm only 5'2". Listen, nobody can't stop me from doing nothing, because I'm going to do it, because I know that I've got the ancestors behind me. Now, if we have more people replicated in the community to stand up and say, you know what you're doing is wrong, fix up, or we're going to take action, they will listen. Now, if it has to be little me standing up there in my 5 foot there with a thing, shouting and going into these places and kicking open the doors of Whitehall or going into the police, we have to be doing that. So when they see you, they're like, oh, we can't do this. Or if they see me come in, which they do on a regular basis, I'm always there watching them when they stop police all the time. I'm known for that. That's why my child doesn't like walking with me in Wood Green, because of these things. So we have to be able to do that as well. And I don't know if police involved in schools. I would say, I think we need to be more, parents need to be more involved in the school, not the police.
Yeah.
We as parents need to be involved in the school, because we don't want them to go in there and traumatize our young people. And then we got to deal with another issue of them traumatizing our young people, because we don't get, that's another area and another discussion about how the police traumatize the community. Because we have a lot of traumatized parents raising a lot of traumatized children at the moment. Yeah.
That's actually the point, Charmaine. The point is, how do we operate in a way to prevent the police traumatizing our communities? That's actually the point.
We have to be the parents.
So what can we actively do? What can MOPAC do in order to change that trajectory? Because we can't go on like this. It's beyond unacceptable. I mean, it really is beyond unacceptable. So what do we need to do in order to prevent that trajectory continuing? That's the point.
Yeah. So we as parents, as me included, and when I say we, I'm talking about me as well. We have to see every child out there as our child. Yeah. And we have to be as elders and responsible parents, and actually speak on behalf of our young people and make sure that we protect our young people. And it has to come from us. And it means supporting the single mother, so supporting the single father, supporting the two parents that are working 24 hours just to put food on the table, and being that support. So even if they can't come to a meeting, their point gets to that meeting. Whether that's an email, whether that's a questionnaire, their input is input in that meeting, even if they're driving the bus at the same time while the meeting's going on.
So it goes.
So we have to have that link.
So it goes
Yeah.
back to that whole system
Yes.
of marketing, of communication,
Yes.
so that everybody can access, no
Mhm.
matter where they're located, but access in a way that they can influence what's taking place at that local level,
Yeah.
especially the policies, the conduct, the behavior that's happening at that
Yeah.
very local level. They should be able to have access to data that they can
Yeah.
make sense of, and then
Yes.
contribute to what they think, how that needs to change. Yeah,
because so a mum ain't got time to be reading a 50-page report
yeah,
in size 12 fonts when they've got heads to Cairo and clothes to take out washing machine. So it has to be broken it down to where that a 1-page sheet they can know, okay, these are the statistics of my local area. What are your thoughts on that? And communicating in a way, whether it's a WhatsApp group, whether it's a Discord as well. We have our own server, which we can have where people can input on certain things as well, and it remains there. We also have a media team. So we have a journalist. We have somebody that can get this information out there in a creative way. So it's broken down and easy accessible.
Okay, great. Let's try and see if we can grab a couple of other questions. And I'm going to ask you as panel, as my co-host, to be very brief with your response.
Okay, yeah.
As much as we love it.
Yeah. We need more time. We need more time.
Yeah, we need more time. But these are ongoing discussions that you've already articulated. So this is just the beginning. We know that we've got to continue. So that's fine, right? Because there's so much that we have to explore, and there's so much that we have to educate one another about and make sense of as we are journeying towards really empowering and actually helping our supporting our community to access the power that actually really lies within them, to access to support this agenda and so many others, that the great works that it is that you're doing. Ubuntu. So Georgie.
Yep. So the next question, there's 2 questions that I've pulled together because they're on the same topic. So someone said, is having more Black police officers the answer? And then someone else said, can we get hold of Black police officers to support liaise with leaders in the community so that the Black police officers and the leaders are holding the police accountable? So your thoughts on what role does Black officers play in local accountability?
With brevity now.
We just need police officers. Don't need to be Black or Black, just police officers.
Andrew, your thought?
Very, very briefly, Charmaine just touched on it. To me, it's not necessarily the color, it's the mindset of the police officers. But I must say, though, I built a very good relationship with the National Black Police Association over the number of years, and they had some real conscious police officers who are phenomenal in their in their work, but also phenomenal in making sure that they were grassrooted as well. So if we are going to have Black police officers, they've got to come again and represent the grassroots as well. The mindset is more important than the color.
Yes.
So good. And one of the discussions like this, an online discussion, was actually with the National Black Police Association, and spoke in the way that you've just articulated, Andrew. They're very, very conscious of systemic racism present within the Met, and also how that manifests for Black officers and for the policing that takes place in the communities, which is really very, it's reassuring to know that that level of consciousness exists, and they want to build closer bridges to our communities from that Black police sort of like leadership, which I think is absolutely correct. You know, but it's everybody's business, but actually some Black police leadership on this matter at a local level is more than welcome. So another question, Georgia, if we can. I know that time is running away from us, but
so just one last question then, I guess. So someone's made a comment that said that we should be asking our children for their input. We should see things from the eyes of a child. Children are the future, and the future is here and now. And so I think it would be great if we could close out with comments from our speakers. What does MOPAC have to provide, do, resource, fund potentially to allow Black children to have a voice in these things? What would you do? Or maybe it's not MOPAC, but what would you put in?
Sorry, Charmaine.
Me? Oh, okay, yeah. So For example, maybe going to the schools, or maybe do outside of the schools, because a young person want to speak freely, but might incriminate themselves in the school. So providing a form outside of the schools where young people can actually speak freely, with their parents, or where the parents know that they're there, and they can speak freely without, what they call it, recourse. And then, yeah, so they can speak and contribute in a different way, whether they can do it anonymously as well. Yeah. So sometimes they might want to talk about an incident, or they might want to report something that's happening and they don't know where to go. But at least there's a safe space that they can go to speak to one of us in the community to share their concerns. So either going into the schools, going into the churches, going into the local groups, barbershops, yeah, anywhere where young people frequent, we should have a presence.
Also,
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a very efficient and productive supplementary school system, because a lot of our children have parents who are very concerned about their education, very concerned about their life chances. And those children do turn up to supplementary schools or Saturday or Sunday schools. I think if MOPAC had a program of outreach to all these supplementary schools, churches, and whatever, okay, and even if they were visiting them once a term, once a half term, at least you got a platform there where MOPAC could be seen to be engaging with that next generation, listening to that next generation. And I can speak on behalf of my academies. We will welcome that massively.
Yes.
Our children need to feel safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think Charmaine really hit the nail on the head in terms of trauma. Many of them are traumatized, and they sometimes they don't even know they're traumatized. You know what I'm saying? But it comes out in many of their actions, many of their behavior. Is a way of communicating that I'm not right. I don't feel safe. So I think MOPAC could definitely do that. Secondly, I think that you could have a proper dialogue with church preachers and ministers. Why? Because Charmaine again touched on it. I grew up based on going to not just school and whatever, okay, but a lot of my social interaction, a lot of my learning of social values came from community centers, youth clubs. Now, how can these young people be growing up and there are no youth clubs? There are no youth clubs. So if MOPAC was to open up, for example, or at least help fund certain youth clubs, or speak to churches and say, how can you have your church being closed in the evenings and you've got children on the street with nothing to do? And they're hanging out outside McDonald's or whatever, okay? The church could be used as a foundation point where young people can go, feel safe, MOPAC is there, and at the same time, they're playing their little table tennis, they're playing their little bar football, but guess what? You're also dropping in a few workshops in there as well. And I think these are just local things that can be done. And it really takes a organization really doing it. But if there's a team that's on it and whose mind's on it, and they've got a bit of funding, this can happen quite effectively. And
you said it. You said it. Even summer program. Now it's April now? We should be planning for summer. Sometimes that 6 weeks when them children are off school, bored, we know that cost of living crisis has gone up. They're going to be at home in their house. Could there be something that they can go to so they can learn computer skills, financial literacy, coding? Some of the programs that Weiler does, have a safe space to meet other young people, because young people don't meet each other. They don't even know how to talk to each other because everything's on their phone now. So be able to effectively communicate with each other. And then also have these conversations about things that are concerning with them as well, that concerns them in their community. There's no reason why we can't do that. I've already reached out to my local councillor about a community centre that I can see from my house that is always closed. Why is it always closed? So I've reached out to her and say, I want to do some events in there. Because why is it always closed? There's young people walking around West Green all the time. Exactly. Why is it always closed? Because I can give up some time in my evening to do something with the young people. Why can't we look at what are the local resources that are closed? Give them to us.
That's right. So thank you.
So thank you. Thank you.
I honestly, I cannot thank you enough for your generosity of
No
time
problem.
and thinking and reflections and ideas
Mhm.
that you shared with us today. It's been
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. And I've
Mm-hmm.
just felt so, I'm just so appreciative of what it is that you have for what you have to contribute for our Black Londoners on this agenda. It's just great.